Hey guys, what's up? It's Eric with the Miller Park Minute, where we're throwing strikes and getting likes. Almost didn't have my microphone in the view today. We were trying a brand new setup, so took a little while longer to get the recording going. So this is coming via my iPhone, which is way better than the MacBook camera. So it's going to look a little weird because I'm adjusting to looking at the iPhone camera. Maybe I should have put it on a tripod. Well, it's too late for that now. So let's get started. If you haven't already seen, I produced a video about today's acquisitions. Yes, we made 2 acquisitions today. But first, without that, we're here to throw strikes and get likes as always. It's really good to finally get this all the setup kind of figured out. Butcher was on last night's podcast, yesterday's podcast, today's podcast, whatever you want to call it. I guess I record them at night. You can hear them the next day, starting at 5:30 a.m. So that gives it processing time, upload time, all that good stuff. But you don't need to know about that. That's back end. So yeah, Wade Miley got, and it's official. When I recorded my instant reaction on it, it was not official on the Brewers page. I was just reading information off of Baseball Trade Rumors, which is where I see the trades before MLB posts them. So he got 4.5 mil, mutual option for a second year. No, as assuming no snags in the physical, which we know. Sorry, apologize to your ears. Which we know can happen because Carlos Correa is still in flux. I have no idea what's going on there. I've been following, I've been listening, I've listened to every baseball podcast in the last 24 to 48 hours. And I can tell you there's nothing. So at this juncture, who knows? Who knows where we're going to go, where Carlos Correa is going to end up, if they're going to shorten the deal. It sounds like at this juncture, according to the guys at Talking Baseball, rumors are that they're basically going to restructure the deal. So, which I don't blame them. And then we signed another guy, and I'm going to assume the name here, but it's Bryce Wilson. We actually we did a cash swap with the Pirates. He's made some major league starts, got 115 innings in him so far, but he had a 5.5 ERA. So who knows if we can get him into the pitching lab and get him going. I have a little more energy tonight because we made some moves. We did something I wanted us to do. And I don't know if you've listened to the live streams or you've listened to me yammer on for years and years and years. But we needed to add a veteran. We've always needed to add a veteran. I just think it adds that experience factor that the team needs. These young guys still need it. Yes, they're experienced. They're getting seasoned. But he could help the Ashbys, the Ethan Smalls, who in this scenario, and I said this earlier today, and 2 people on Facebook and Twitter, this is perfect scenario. It allows us to put a Small and an Ashby and even maybe Hauser in position to be long relief. Hauser's been good in long relief. Ashby and Small are still not seasoned yet, so they're still not that full major league caliber. But with work, we'll see where they come out this season. I'm optimistic for them, but again, that opens that position up. The biggest need at this juncture and at the juncture before today was pitching, and I've said that multiple times over. And the reason being where we are right now is because we just didn't have depth. I mean, we used a guy like Jason Alexander, God bless him, but just wasn't all around that great of an option last year. Now we have, a roster full of guys. You got your Burns, your Woodruff, your Peralta, Hauser, Small, Ashby, Miley, Lauer. So we've got a full boat rotation. We've got depth and options, and those are things we didn't have before today. Along with the Claudio bring back, who he's got to earn a spot, so we'll see where that goes. But I'm a lot more excited for this team, knowing what we did there. Still, there's still worries and there's still concerns, and I'm going to voice them through this platform, through this microphone, day in and day out until I'm not concerned, until they just prove me wrong. I mean, at this juncture, that's all we've got. But the reason for the title of this episode is the definition of insanity. Now, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Where I say that's the definition, and why I'm even bringing this up today, is the definition of insanity has been huge amongst fans. Day in and day out, we expect the Brewers to be this playoff caliber team, to be this team that can get to the World Series. But we don't expect them to spend money. As a whole, I'm saying as a whole, as the vast majority of the vocal fans, the crazies on Facebook, even some of the Twitter crazies, have the expectation of the small market. That is not a realistic expectation. You need to spend money. You need to make moves. Even now, spending $4.5 million, I think it totals to 10 million, if I read this correctly. That's still not enough. And I am hoping, and I said this last night, today's podcast. I lose track of days and when I record podcasts. But what I said is, we're not a success this offseason if we don't re-sign Burns, Woodruff, and Adames to extensions, or sign them to extensions, I guess. But that's our failed point. I expect nothing less than that. Why, Miley, if he's the addition on top of these signings, great. That's a cherry on top. We got him on 2 years with our club option, but 2-year deal, essentially. So that being said, yes, the definition of insanity. If they don't lock up players long term. I mean, we've had guys over the years. If we go back over just the most recent time, we've locked up a Christian Yelich, we locked up a Ryan Braun. We actually offered. We've got Ashby and Freddie on 5 years, but we've never locked up the majority of the team. And the reason this all comes to light and comes to my head today is I was listening to them talk about the Braves on Talking Baseball today. They were talking about how the Braves, when a guy comes in via trade, they get him an extension and they get him to give money to their charity, which is amazing. I think it's like 1%. So it's really not a lot of money. But that catcher, Sean Murphy, that came in the trade where we got Contreras, he signed a extension. Acuna, Olsen, every guy. I mean, all these, they're all extended, and they got them. I think they're locked up to 2025, and that gives them a window. I mean, the Braves are, going over the power rankings yesterday, the Braves are still number 3 to the Mets, who spent all the money in the world. So I think that goes without saying that this is something that the team has needed for years. We kind of line up these windows where, okay, we've got them before they're going to get to the point where they're going to be too expensive in arbitration, or before we need to trade them. I think to produce sustainable success, to produce deep playoff runs, not just one and dones, because that's the factor that we really miss when we talk about this most recent tenure of Brewers. We talk about the playoffs. We've been in the playoffs every year, for 4 out of the last 5 years. Well, the other thing that we miss, that everyone misses, well, not everyone, I mean, other fans don't miss it, but we have blinders to it as Brewers fans, is the fact that we also exited early in all but 2018. The first year, Christian Yelich and Lorenzo Cain. We've exited early every year. And that's not, I mean, yeah, it's good to tout. It's good to say, hey, we've been in the playoffs the last 4 or 5 years. But at the end of the day, it gets us nowhere. It's the definition of insanity, excuse me. You just keep rocking back and forth on a rocking chair. You ain't going anywhere. You can do it all day, but you ain't going anywhere. And that's more of the puzzle, more of this pie. Just like, we don't offer these guys extensions. We we trade off guys that are family, so to speak. You get rid of a guy like a Brent Suter, and yeah, I've harped on this multiple times over. The same with the Josh Hader trade. You get rid of guys, and those guys, all these young guys, identified together as like a family. This pitching unit. Um, we can't lose guys at this juncture. It's not something that's good. And I think to extend these guys and to continue to extend these guys would be great. Okay, go take a little pause. We're gonna talk about SeatGeek for a second. The SeatGeek code is Miller Park Minute. If you use that, you get $20 off your first purchase with SeatGeek, whether that's Brewers tickets, basketball tickets, football. You can go to a concert, whatever you want to do. So use the code Miller Park Minute for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. All right, back to baseball. So that being said, I mean, I really think one of the things that we've been doing here is just being our head against the wall. In my time as a Brewers fan, in my entire fandom as a Brewers fan, I haven't seen anybody extend it. I mean, today, Barrel Banter, the Barrel Banter is a podcast. David Go and oh my gosh, I can't forget Brian and David Go. Okay, guys, I apologize. I don't remember your first names. Peter and David Go. Peter and David Go. The Barrel Banter. Look them up. They're good. Very, very good numbers wise. Not as stat. I'm not that stat heavy, but I go more on the gut and the feeling and just pouring my heart out to this microphone and in front of this camera. But those guys were talking about Jonathan Lucroy and the possibility of Jonathan Lucroy extensions and Gomez and those kind of things. We haven't really extended or had a catcher. What if we could extend Contreras? Albeit he's good. Let's give him a year, figure out if he's good, then offer him a reasonable extension. And this has been my life as a Brewers fan. I mean, Giovanni Gallardo, Ryan Braun, Prince Fielders. Prince was one we missed on that we could have extended, and who knows, maybe his neck would have never happened. We don't know that for certain. But we had a good core in that team. We had Giovanni, we had Bill Hall, JJ, Ricky Weeks. That was a great group of guys. And then the Luke Roys and the Ryan Brauns came along, and they were solid. But the only guy that stayed long term was Ryan Braun. It's kind of sad, like I wish we could keep cores of teams together. We had some good years in that 2008 to 2011 era. And I don't want to see the best of these most recent years disappear. The best of the Corbin Burns, Freddie Peralta, Brandon Woodruff, Willie Adames, Christian Yelich. I don't want to just continue to go back to 2018. I mean, we've spent a lifetime looking back to 1982, the only time the Brewers ever appeared in the World Series. That is insanity right there. To build a team, to build success, to build sustainability, for the long term and the long haul. And I think that's one of the keys to where we need to be. And that's why I keep saying, don't let me fall angry because in this first year we can't extend these three guys, just three players. That's all I want extended. There's a lot more, but I mean, there's a lot of things I want as a fan. I'm not going to get them all. Let's be real here. I have some realism in me, and you might think I'm smoking the crack pipe here, but this is legit. I think they can do it. We took a team that was, I believe it was $223 million franchise when when Mark Antanasio purchased it, and now it's worth 1.2 $2-3 billion. I forget the exact number. I looked it up the other day. But yeah, I think that needs to happen. So that is what I'm saying. We need to stop taking that insane road and start building and improving. I mean, we've got this pitching lab, so let's improve some of the pitching. Let's let's coach up these guys, get them in our organization. Honestly, I think we did make the mistake in not signing these guys and extending these guys sooner, like in David Stearns' tenure. Because if you would have signed them on the cheap, then we wouldn't have had this problem. Now they don't have this problem with Freddie Peralta because they extended him on the cheap years ago, similar to what they did with Ashby. So that was a very wise move on their part, and I really, really appreciate where we are with that. Inbox revisiting. You guys really want to hear that? Revisiting the hater trade, and why it went down. I'm not going to touch that one today. I've touched that one enough over the last few weeks. I think I even mentioned it earlier here, so I'm not going to harp on that, even though I'd love to. Now today is January the 5th, so we're going to do 5 things. So 5 things. This episode of 5 things is going to be a kind of a series. I'm going to just throw out some predictions first. So 5. I guess I'll say bold, maybe bold. I'm going to say we extend the 3 big dogs, Willie, Corbin, and Brandon. And that's number 1. That's like the top wish on my list. My next thing is 45 home runs for Rowdy Tellez. I'm, and Rob said it yesterday. Sorry, Butcher said it yesterday. Christian Yelich, we all root for him. We all pull for him. He's our guy. He's on our team. He ain't going anywhere. I want to see him hit home runs and steal bases. So we're going to say 40-40. He's going to hit 40 dingers and steal 40 hit 40 dingers and steal 40 bases. So, and then no hitter. I'm not stealing this from McCalvy. I predict a no hitter every year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double down on that. I'm going to say 2 no hitters: Corbin Burns and Freddie Peralta. I could go wild and say 3 and say that Wade Miley's going to throw another no hitter, but let's not get too crazy. It's Wade Miley. He's a little bit older than the rest. So what do we do? We did 1, 2, 3. Number 4. Number 4 is going to be. I'm going to give some love to Jesse Winker. I'm going to say Jesse Winker comes back to Reds form. Jesse Winker is going to play at the capability that he did with the Reds. We're going to see Garrett Mitchell come out with a breakout season with 32 home runs and 34 stolen bases. He was 8 for 8 last year in a shortened time, so I think that's not out of the realm of possibility. He's a speedy guy on the base path. He's just got a lot of energy. Garrett Mitchell is one of those players that kind of flies under the radar when I talk about players that we have on this team, and just kind of listening to the breakdowns and everything I've heard and everything that people are talking about. I think Garrett Mitchell's set to do pretty well. I've already mentioned Rowdy, I know, but I'm just going to harp on Rowdy for a minute here. I think Rowdy is really coming to his own. It's been a couple of years that he's been with us now, and he's really got that first base locked down. Obviously, Vogelbach was there for a while, and then the whole Keston here thing. And we still don't have positions for all these guys. We're going to figure that all out eventually. And I'm going to pose that question out to the audience here and out to you guys. Where do you think all these infielders go? Who do you think's going to remain and last? And where do you think we're going to slot them all? I'd like to know what you think. I have my own opinions. We'll discuss those in my infield takes video and lineups, and we'll kind of see how things shape out here. We're really close to pitchers and catchers reporting. I think 30 days is what I was. Yeah, 30. It's 30 days. So that's 5 bold predictions. Now, 5 bold predictions also is going to be followed by fives. We talked about the Braves extending people. Oh, 5 members of Five Tool Podcast. So we've already got one. We are bringing number 2 in soon. So this was all part of the 5, the 5th. So one of the guys from Five Tool was the Butcher. We're bringing back another one, and we're going to hope to sporadically get them all on. We have another guest that we lined up. We were in a live podcast earlier tonight, and we've got another guest that we're going to try and line up. So we're working with new guests. We're working with new people. So those are the things that I wanted to update you on. I'm going to do a 5s every month. And I think those are big ones. 5:30 a.m. every day, guys. Here on YouTube, on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, coming at you, throwing strikes, getting likes, hitting dingers, getting listeners, however you want to say it. I really appreciate each and every one of you that has come on. We are just getting back in the swing. This is only episode 4. Yes, this is the 4th episode of the return of the podcast. So that being said, the other thing I wanted to cover and talk about today was just some news around. I want to take a break to do some news around baseball. So our NL Central rivals, the Chicago Cubs, did sign Eric Hosmer. I remember I briefly mentioned that the other day. They signed Eric Hosmer, so he is now a part of the Chicago Cubs. Rafael Devers signed an extension. So third baseman Rafael Devers, 11 years, $331 million extension. I think it's only bad for us if we just keep letting these extensions roll out and not extending our guys, because then the prices just can't go up. I mean, you as a player, you can't say that you get approached with 5 years for 150, and then you see a guy get 331 million on the open market, or 336 million on the open market for 11 years, So there's going to be guys that are going to want these contracts, and I think we need to figure out a way to extend the contracts. These contracts that are getting offered are just downright ludicrous. I mean, the money that is now being spent on baseball is next level. It's just very next level stuff. And it's crazy. I'm all for spending money on players and them getting paid, but at the same time, I'm like, let's the median price is not going down at all. So we're gonna have to have an ownership that spends money, and that's where I kind of get in on the Brewers a little bit, ownership group, and where we've come from $230 million team to a $1.2 billion worth. And that's values and stuff like that. And we're not going to get into business here because that's not what this podcast is about, but just thought process. The next piece on my agenda today was, this was posted just hours before I actually started the whole process of recording the Miley video and preparing for this live video. Steve Cohn, we talked about him earlier this week, the guy that spends all the money out in New York, is looking to develop basically the 50 vacant acres around Citi Field. So he's calling a public meeting to do so. Goes without saying that this is something I already said, and many of us have said. Many people who talk about Brewers baseball, talk about any form of baseball, have talked about the fact that there needs to be a beer district, or a Brewers district, or whatever you want to call it. And it just shows the mentality and the the attitude of a guy like that. He doesn't want to stop at baseball. He wants to develop the area around the baseball stadium to put more into the market, to put more into his area. So I think that's great, and I think it's something, I hope, a step that this Brewers ownership sees or the city of Milwaukee sees, and I hope there's some development and things that have been done or are in the works. Um, One juncture, I heard something about rerouting of 94. I don't know if that's really actually a thing or if that's just something that I picked up off the top of my brain here. Um, but I felt like that was something. Um, I'm just gonna take one quick live look at trade rumors to see if there's anything going on there. I don't think there's any other trades I missed. Ronaldo Nunez, Mexican leagues, okay. Jake Jewell to the Phillies on a minor league. Brian Anderson is a free agent. That's not a bad one. But again, I don't think we need any more position players. I really don't think we need any more roster additions at this juncture. Hell, nothing else. I was just seeing if the Brewers made any other kind of minor moves for some arms or anything like that, which I don't think we need. I really don't. I don't think we need any more additions at this juncture. I wanted to also mention I love and hate the Brewers community at times. Some of the reactions here with this addition of the starting pitcher were rather shocking. Why did we need another guy? It's like, okay, well, wait, why did we need 5 outfielders, 6 outfielders? It's a depth move. It's always a depth move. That is the key to the Milwaukee Brewers organization. That is what they do. I mean, they give Craig Counsell options. I mean, look at how many relievers come up and down throughout the season. See guys like Jake Cousins, Justin Toba. Um, Never got to see Trevor Rosenthal. We still have just a slew of guys that are just kind of kicking around in our depth chart, and that's good for us. I mean, years ago, I kind of poo pooed the whole process that we were going through of just having all these extra players, and now it comes down, and I'm like, I like it. I like to see more guys. I like to see a roster full. Um, Yeah, Jason Alexander's still there. Aaron Ashby, Luke Barker, Brad Boxberger is with the Cubs, so I don't know why he shows up on our 40-man roster. Bush, Kane does too. So this isn't totally up to date. Cousins, Gott's gone. Gott went to Seattle. Gustave's still with us. Yeah, so I mean, we are making moves. It's still sad. I'm still sad that Jace went and Hunter Renfroe went. Ruiz got traded. Taylor Rogers, we didn't need. Yeah, I mean, at this juncture, I think we're gonna run through one real quick here, and this is kind of funny, because I just looked at it. So this is as of, I think this is current. Rex Brothers, David Dahl, Moses Gomez, Hobie Harris, Josh Lindboom, Andrew Bryce Turang, and Garrett Whitley. I don't think the app is up to date. I don't think that's an active list of roster invitees. I was trying to find the list of roster invitees to spring training. Non-roster invitees, obviously. I will find that list for tomorrow's episode. But I think we have really made some strides today. I'm really excited. I have a little bit more energy about the team, about the club than I have had in the last 4 days, 4 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, whatever you want to say. And just because we made some moves that I saw fit, and I'm not the expert. I don't own the major league team. I don't run the major league team. But that being said, I'm out here putting my opinion out there. So Bryce Wilson and Wade Miley signed today. We've got 30 days. That's great. If you haven't gone to spring training, I do have a video out of my hot tips and takes for spring training. So if you want to look that up, that's on the YouTube page. Like I said, I just posted a hot take or excitement about Wade Miley and Bryce Wilson, just because I was excited for some moves today, which is the first time we've seen some moves that kind of make sense. And I think I held some anger on the Contreras move just because it was still associated with the Josh Hader trade. So anything associated with the Josh Hader trade. Oh, I forgot David Gasser. We still have David Gasser out there, whether he works out in the end. But David Gasser is still out there as well. So that's huge. Huge. Still one piece available from the Josh Hader trade, which is awesome. And I think the last thing I want to talk about in brief is the rule changes. So I'm going to do a full deep dive on the rule changes. But some of the predictions I just made, those 5 bold predictions I just made, are based on the fact that the new rules with the stolen bases, the limiting the shift, or I'm sorry, with the base size, limiting the shift, the pitch clock is going to come into play. I really want to deep dive on how that's going to affect our pitchers and our pitchers' rhythm. I've never really timed out or looked at the timing. I'm sure these are all things that they're working on in the background that we don't even see. But you wonder how a guy like, like Miley and Miley's a veteran, so obviously these are things in the back of our heads as fans, but maybe not in the heads of them because they've already got it figured out, or they've been working on it since they've known this is coming. We all have known this is coming. But the pitch clock and stuff like that, I want to see what that does to the game. I'm gonna say right now that I'm not pro these rules. I wasn't pro the DH. I think you guys know that if you've followed me for any amount of time. But at a certain point, you just gotta embrace it. I mean, there's enough things to be negative about in this world, and I try to be more positive and more light, and that's why I took this time in this episode to talk about things in a more light fashion than I have in a few days. I will have good and bad takes, good and bad days where certain things are going to be more positive and more negative, and that's just the ebbs and flows of podcasting and talking on a platform and giving your gut reaction and your actual feelings. So that being said, guys, I have run out of gas for the evening, for the morning, whatever you want to call this. My podcast recording time has run out of gas. So I will catch you guys in the next episode. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I kind of make up as I go some days. So it'll be a surprise. Surprise Saturday? No, let's Friday episode. So this is the surprise Friday episode. Who knows? Maybe we'll mix something in. We'll do some Twitter reactions or something. But yeah, that's all I got for tonight. Thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you soon in the comments below. If you guys do have any questions for me, feel free to reach out. Go subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, or rate and review me on the podcast platforms. That's, I guess, what people do. I don't know. I've never really rated or reviewed a podcast, so don't know how to tell you to do that. But thank you guys so much for watching and listening to the Miller Park Minute. We'll catch you in the next episode. Go Brewers!
Thank you for watching the Miller Park Minute. Go Brewers!